Hello and welcome. I'm Adri Gregan, and I am back for Jujutsu Kaisen Season 3. Today we're getting into Episode 5, or Episode 6, last time was 5. Uh, as you can tell, I can count up to about 4, and then after that it's kind of monkeys and typewriters. Got that from the Marine Corps. Regardless, we're here with Episode 6, and we are building out this little mini arc of Yuji and Megumi going to hopefully recruit somebody that Yuta considers to be potentially stronger than him. Press X to doubt, but he does seem to have an interesting power. We got teased with it last episode, where he seems to like summon doors of some sort just by moving his hand motions. I can only imagine what his domain expansion would look like. But that's where we left off last episode. Yuji is confronting Hakari, I believe his name is. And we're probably also going to see more of Kirara, who's his significant other. It seems their gender roles a little bit up in the air. I've heard that Gege uses he him, but it sounds like they may be a trans woman. But I've also heard pronouns of using they them. So I'm gonna probably let the episode clear it up for me, or you guys in the comments will fill me out there. Or don't, because obviously that's a touchy subject for a lot of people, one way or the other. So I guess comment at your own risk. I, for one, have thick skin, and I love seeing people riled up due to my discussion, so I will not shy away from those kinds of discussions. But obviously, if you choose to stay away from them, then you are more in your rights too, and all the power to you. And that's about as much as I'm going to say about that. Now, the whole introduction to Fight Club, Hakari's Fight Club, was not the whole episode, though. It was only really the latter 2/3 of the episode. The first entire part of the episode was about Principal Yaga and his unfortunate fate, and also his past, what's happened in the past with him, and his relation with Parkour Panda, who seems to be getting more involved with the story, at least for the time being, because he's also here with us in this Fight Club infiltration, you could say. In order to talk about this, I'm going to go to the comment spotlight of the day, which is going to be featuring Alex. If you know him, then you'll know he's a long-time commenter, the longest time, I would even say. He's truly one of the OGs, and every single one of his comments are elucidating and fascinating, and this one is no exception. As per usual, I'm not going to go over the entire comment. I'm just going to talk about the main part that I want to discuss here, and here it's going to be about Yaga, sorry, wrong principal. Well, no, actually, I am going to be talking about Gakuganji, because I'm going to be talking about specifically their interaction in this episode. The perspective that Alex brings here is, as usual, the cultural perspective from Japanese. Namely, the two main values that are very deeply rooted in their society, that of moral duty, giri, and gratitude, on. And how this relates basically to Yaga's final moments is why his final admission and his explanation of his puppeteering is a curse to Gakuganji in Yaga's final moments. Now, there are many elements to this interaction, to this transfer of wills, if you would, that make it super interesting, and I wish I could cover every single facet of it, but it's simply too much that even I'm not aware of, since I'm mainly reading it from here. I'm not super familiar with these cultures myself, so bear with me as I try to explain how much I appreciate this and why I chose this to be the main comment spotlight of the day. The two main facets of this are the receiver's obligation and the giver's will. So you have one person, the giver, on their last legs, and you have the other person, the receiver, who is bearing witness. Naturally, and this is not limited to Japan, when somebody is about to die and they decide to leave their final parting words, there's a significance to it, right? It's literally the last thing they will say. It's the lasting impact they will have on the world, and especially on the person who's there to witness it, because it is their final words. It is what they choose to leave the world with, the immediate legacy they choose to leave behind. And most people, or a lot of people, I guess, in this world, like Gakuganji, for example, will probably be there to see a lot of people's final moments, but in general, this isn't an experience you have very often, so it's just psychologically bound to be inscribed upon the receiver. Now, let's go into more details. The giver, Yaga, on his dying words, he reveals his secrets not in a way to save his own life, but as he says to Gakuganji, as a curse. How is this a curse? In the episode, I talked about how the idea of basically reviving souls or copying souls to create a new life is very morally ambiguous, and having that information to do what you will with it is almost always going to be morally gray in the least. So in that sense, you could see it as a curse, like they will have to deal with that moral dilemma themselves. Realistically, Yaga could have said anything he wanted to in order to leave his curse basically upon Gakuganji. He could have said, the sky is actually purple. He could have said, dogs are better than cats. And it would have been a curse all the same. Because the curse is that I am giving you this information, I am leaving you with these words, and you are effectively obligated to not take these words lightly. These are my final words. These are what I'm leaving the world with. These are not spoken lightly. They are the furthest thing from being spoken lightly, right? They are as heavy weight of words that I could basically ever say, because they are my final words. There's this weight to me choosing to say it, my tone, and the mood it creates is a sense of obligation, of duty, because you entrusted me with these words, with this information, in your dying breath. I must do something with it. You have to think about the fact that Yaga chose to say this to Gakuganji. As Alex says here, it's an implicit recognition that he is worthy of receiving this. I think it's safe to say if that ninja guy that was chasing Yaga had been there for his final breaths instead of Gakuganji, he probably wouldn't have said this. But those two were close. They butt heads all the time, and they disagreed quite a bit, but they were close. Gakuganji did not kill Yaga out of spite or out of malice. He did it basically out of duty, out of his obligation to Jujutsu society. In other words, this was not done with hard feelings, right? No hard feelings. So it makes sense that Yaga would deem Gakuganji fit to receive these final words, leaving him to decide what to do with them. A decision that cannot be made lightly. The other side to this implicit coin that makes this such a memorable, powerful interaction is what this information means to the giver, to Yaga. As we saw just before this scene in a flashback, when Parkour Panda was first born, Yaga is pressed by Gakuganji about how it happened, and he writes it off, saying that he doesn't even know himself. Clearly he does, but he's not willing to share it. It's something deeply personal and also something deeply powerful, right? Something that could change the world. The idea of creating these cursed sentient automatons. So this secret is both personal and powerful, which makes it all the more impactful that Yaga chose to share it with Gakuganji in this moment, right? It's something he not only has no obligation to share, since he's literally in his dying moments, and the incentive to share it was to be alive, right? Was to not die. You share this information or we will kill you. We killed you, so why in the world would you share this information that will help you, the person who killed you, that is deeply personal to you, and that could change the world due to its powerful? But he does. And Gakuganji brings up, like, why'd you do it? Not to save your life. But Yaga doesn't say, this is personal to me, but I'll leave it to you. This is so powerful, but you must not use it this way. He doesn't say any of these things, right? He just says it's a curse. And yet, I think Gakuganji understands. I think he gets it. Because it's implicit. Just like the previous implicity of it not being stated that these obligations exist, it is implicit that this is something deeply personal to me. This is something I don't share lightly, that I was willing to give my life to not let into your hands, yet I'm going to share it to you anyways. Which only strengthens the burden of obligation that Gakuganji now has with this information. because Yaga did share it as willingly as somebody possibly could. And that's just so interesting. Now, I know this segment is supposed to be called the comment spotlight, but I can't help myself. It'll have to be comment spotlights, comments of the day, because this comment is something that I simply can't overlook. It's something that's super interesting and I really want to talk about, and it seems really appropriate to talk about it here, since apparently episode 5 was a big turning point for how people saw the show and how they perceive the adaptation of JJK, particularly of JJK season 5 with the new director. So there's two main things about Sumknown's comment that I want to bring up. Shout out to Sumknown, who is a regular for not only these comments, but also the live streams, which are a lot of fun. So thank you for your interactions. And thank you for your thoughts here. The first part is something that was initially brought up as early as 3.3. Obviously, the Maki massacre, the Maki massacre. There we go. And it's talking about when Maki is facing off against Ogi. Ogi sees Maki and sees Toji within Maki, basically. It's an iconic scene in the manga, and in the anime, people were less than happy with how it was adapted. If you're not familiar, by the way, I'll probably pull it up here just so you can kind of see what I'm talking about, the two different, the manga versus the anime. And I'm torn. I really like how the anime did it, but I agree that it is a little bit too fast and a little too vague. It's a little hard to see what's happening. I didn't really have trouble with it, but I can see why people would struggle and why they wouldn't like it as much as they could have. And I can see an easy fix for how they could have made it better. Just simply having Toji, having his outline stay there a little bit longer, right? Letting that scene play out for like maybe half a second longer, just another second. I think that would have made a big difference. Execution aside, I really like how this adaptation handled the scene. The idea of not just doing a side-by-side comparison, or not even doing just a transition from one to the other, like a fade out. The fact that it like overlays this like white outline is really cool, and it's an unusual way of expressing something that we see a lot in anime, right? Where someone reminds someone of somebody else. Usually it either cuts between them, or like the whole scene will like fade away and transition into the other character. But this overlay is really cool. It's really artsy. I just think it could have lasted a little longer. Before I finish my thoughts on that, I'm going to move on to what happened to episode 5, and you'll see why in a second. The scene I'm talking about, my favorite scene of the episode, is obviously the long static rotoscope shot where we're just stuck in the hallway as Yuji walks in and then talks with Hakari. And it's like a 3-minute scene where just the camera never moves, doesn't so much as pan, and the two characters are just rotoscope. So they probably just literally recorded a room where the two people were just walking around, and it looks really good. It's very unsettling and really does a great job building the tension of the scene that just builds up until finally we cut. The first time that we like cut to a different shot is actually when they're literally butting heads, and it's really fun. So I really like the scene, and it seems like a lot of people do too. Now, it's also a little bit contentious, albeit less than the Maki Toji comparison, because it's so artistic and it's done so well. But apparently in the manga, it's completely different. It's more dynamic. I assume it's like your typical shots of going to different characters and moving around and stuff like that. It's manga. But the fact that the anime effectively made the scene less animated, made it less dynamic, despite the medium shift, seems like a contradiction and seems like something that would be frowned upon. And yet it isn't. And I think the reason it isn't, I don't think I'm going to blow too many of your minds here, is because of our artistic vision, right? The reason I wanted to bring up this comment is because I wanted to talk about JJK, and specifically JJK Season 3, something that I would argue we saw as early as 2, but in Season 3, we're really, really seeing it with this new direction and the director that's sadly not going to be here apparently for Season 4. But we really see the show growing into its own, and the artistic license just take off with it, despite its popularity, which is interesting. You'd think they'd want to be more conservative and safe with it, but them being willing to take these chances and to let it explore these different creative avenues in terms of adaptation is what I think is really bringing the series to life and really making it interesting. Now, I'm saying all this as somebody who hasn't read the manga, so I'm kind of talking from the experience of others, kind of taking their words for it, but even though I don't know the direct comparison with the adaptation, I've seen the anime, obviously, right? I'm watching the anime, so I can comment on just how brilliant these shots are, and hearing how the manga was and how they adapted it, it just renews my faith so much more about how well this adaptation is turning out. And it's with that I want to talk about the final thing in this pre-ep prep before we get into the actual episode. How do you adapt an anime? Well, there's several ways, right? You can go the A1 Pictures route and adapt it as closely as you can. You try to get the shot for shot, you try to highlight the shots that are really cool, the iconic panels, and you basically make a manga, but you connect the dots, you connect the panels, right? That's the surefire way of doing it, with maybe hiring an outside animator to do the big fight scenes to make it flashy. That's the basic way, and the surefire way to at least get a decent following and for people to enjoy it. Another way you can do it, and I'm avoiding talking about this as like a stepwise, like the next level up is because I don't want to talk about these as levels. They're just different ways of adapting. Another way of doing it is you can completely break off from the manga, right? Or if you have a visual novel, or not a visual novel, but a light novel, something like that, you can really do this. It's where you just completely expand on things and you do your own thing, and it basically almost becomes its own story because it's so vastly different from the original. Like I said, this is most obvious when there aren't like pictures, like a light novel where there are minimal pictures, I suppose. But manga, sometimes you can see this too. If you just, one example that comes off the top of my head is Demon Slayer. They do more than bring the manga to life, right? They completely change it. They completely shift it to the point where it's almost unrecognizable, except for the actual, like, the general shots are kind of the same. And like the story's the same, right? But if you actually read the manga and you've watched the anime, it's two different experiences. You could also say this for things like One Punch Man and Mob Psycho, though I believe their more official, like, published manga are more similar to the anime, where they're less 1E, if you know what I mean. But they are changed so drastically that they practically become their own thing. And then there's what we see here with JJK. And another example I would bring up is The Promised Neverland. These two shows take a sort of middle ground approach, where they don't completely branch off from the original source. They still stay fairly close to it and stay true to it. But the directors don't think that's enough, or the directors want to have a little more fun with it. So they decide to give their own spin on this otherwise faithful adaptation, and they decide to bring it to life while still keeping it true. I bring up The Promised Neverland. If you've seen it, then you probably know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, then go ahead and watch it. And if you haven't read the manga, I recommend you read the manga, then watch the anime, pretending like you have all the time in the world. That's how I'd ideally recommend it. Don't watch season 2, though, because there isn't one. Trust me. Or heck, read the manga after you watch season 1 and start off from there. That's kind of like how I'd say it. That's my whole spiel. I really like The Promised Neverland, like, as the full story. So, and the season 1 was adapted really, really well, and really interesting how they played around with it to build out the dread and suspense that this show is, like, mainly about, especially season 1 and that whole first part of the story. But the reason why I bring it up here in this discussion about directors kind of giving their own spin on things is that there are a lot of different shots that are clearly not inspired from the manga, that are their own thing. The directors pushing the bounds of what has been done and what can be done, and sometimes succeeding brilliantly. Take Jujutsu Kaisen season 2, episode 17, I want to say, where it was just Mahoraga versus Sukuna, and they just completely blow it out, right, into something insane. But it can also end not so well. Take Promised Neverland, a scene where two characters are kind of like facing each other, and it's a confrontation, sort of a reveal, almost like a culprit reveal. And there's like a grandfather clock that's going tick tock, tick tock. The intent is to have the camera basically be the gong of the grandfather clock. So it's kind of like tick tock, and we're like watching from the camera, right? And it's spinning like this. But they do it in a really kind of strange way, in a disorienting way, where it doesn't quite look right. It's not actually doing what the grandfather clock gong thing is doing. And it just feels off. And it's in that failure and in the failure in JJK that we see with Maki Toji overlay that I think shouldn't be frowned upon. It should be criticized. It should be pointed out that this wasn't done well, but it should also be praised. It should not be written off as you shouldn't have done that. The reason I say that is because art is expression, right? Art is creativity. Art is pushing the bounds of what has been done. It's trying new things. And trying new things inevitably, fundamentally, falls short. Trying new things is failing. It's failing a million times so you can succeed once. That's what invention is. Something, Albert Einstein quote, right? So when we get these things of Maki Toji, of Toji's overlay appearing just a little bit too short, or when we have short, you know what I mean? Short time, not Toji's a tall guy, obviously. And when we get things like the Promised Neverland of this weird camera shot that was a really cool idea and concept, but not great in execution, we should be happy and we should celebrate the fact that these directors are pushing the bounds. They are trying new things and they are failing, because anyone who's truly pushing the bounds should fail. And we should celebrate it to encourage this act of discovery. I think it's really cool and I really like that. That's why this is my favorite kind of adaptation of the ones I brought up, because it's not creating something completely new and just kind of fun where they kind of do their own thing separate from the manga, everything but the story, but it's something where they stay true to it, but have little bits where they push the bounds, where they try something new, where they try to really put their spin on it, right? And I really like that. And I think we really don't encourage it enough and we don't celebrate it enough, even the failures, because the failures, like I said, are just as necessary to the end result. The end result, there's no end result to creativity, to pushing the bounds, but it is as necessary to the creation of art as the successes. So I wanted to bring this up and just talk about this because I think we don't talk about this enough, and I really like that. And this comment here points out the both good and the bad, right? Thing where the execution wasn't as great as it could have been. Toji could have lingered for a little bit longer. And the still shot, the doorway shot, which was done really well. It was very different. It, by all accounts, should have been received fairly poorly, but the audience largely came around to it because it was executed well on an idea that was conceptually very cool. And both should be celebrated because both were unique. And to me, that is the essence of art. If you want to see a perfect example of trying something, not doing it well, then reiterating, just look at the last part of the comment here by Some Known. The panda fight was something that was expanded on the anime and expanded on from the manga, right? Expanded on in the anime. It's a fight scene that really doesn't just expand the fight like what the characters are doing, but also builds on their characters and builds on what they would do and what would be appropriate for the scene. Yuji going down the different floors and these two being really playing it up, which I'm sure was in the manga, but the additions that they add are not just surface level, right? It doesn't just make the fight cooler, it makes the impact of the fight, them playing things up and Yuji getting the attention of Hakari, more believable and more interesting because all these additions build off on that. The reason I bring up iteration with this is because with season 2, we saw something similar and it wasn't the same director. So we can't say like literally the same artist did something, failed, did something, succeeded, unless he was like episode director of that one, but it's of the overall show and the team behind the show iterating on a failure, or I wouldn't even call it a failure because the Locust fight in season 2 was fine. It was good. They extended it and it was a fun fight. But this one clearly landed a lot better because when you fail, you don't give up and throw it away. You can, but you shouldn't. You reiterate, you try again, and you see what worked, what didn't work, and then try to improve it. Fail again, iterate, right? Science and art, discovery is iteration. And there's an example right there. So that's my whole spiel about that. I really enjoyed that. In case you couldn't tell, I hope you enjoyed my thoughts, and leave your own thoughts in the comments. If you want to be the comment spotlight of the next episode, the next comment of the day, then yeah. If I really like your comment, then I'll feature it up here. Regardless, please do leave your comments. I read every single one. This experience simply wouldn't be the same without them. So thank you. Alrighty, and 30 minutes in, we are finally ready to get into the episode. Really quickly though, just so you know, this is going to be altered for copyright. If you want the unaltered version, that's going to be on Patreon. It's there for $2 every single reaction on every series I do. So yeah, if you're interested in that, go ahead, watch it there. But otherwise, let's get into Jujutsu Kaisen Season 3, Episode 6. And we are starting with neck problems. How relatable. Jeez. Oh, the life of a grunt is so difficult. Oh. The lighting up the man in the shadows. Yeah. Megumi and Parkour Panda, I believe, are going out, taking out the obstacles. Oh, slipping into his shadow. So fun. The fact that the shadow is like moving as he's walking, they really put extra attention into it because they know that's where we're looking, right? Very good. He's getting really good at his hand-to-hand combat. Oh my god. Isn't that thing dangerous? But it's so cute. Oh my god, and the panning. Oh, this episode's also super fun. This OST's fun too. Ah, it's fine. I'm too cute. Ooh, Hirara. I don't know if we're gonna see her power. I think it was something to do with like they likened it to Gojo's Infinity where you can't reach something. I'm really curious. See if we're gonna see what happens. Oh, is that where she calls him? Because I read that, yeah, calling him is what let them know, yeah. That's what tipped him off. Okay, let's see it. Oh my god. Fast. There it is, her technique. Oh, like reversed it. The jazziness of this OST, so fun. Ooh. Mark them. What? Yeah, meet up with him. I just want to talk to you. I mean, it's true. You convince him. Also, this is super fun. Like this black, this like blacky background with the street lamps giving light to it. Oh, so fun. She can like change their trajectory. Is that what it is? You can mark them and then you can like change their trajectory? Oh, awesome. I assume this is going to be a two-parter. This is going to be the finish of it. Kind of this fun little, odd little detour, but it's really fun. So I'm down for it. And that's what's so cool about these Colon games, right? You can set up these cool little interactions and really get to explore the techniques and just the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, which is something I meant to bring up in my pre-op prep, but I got distracted by the comments. The fact that... Oh, I just saw Sukuna in the mirror there. That was cool. But the fact that the cooling games not only lets you explore these different techniques in a similar way to JoJo's Part 3, but it also lets you explore different parts about this world, like this fight club that allows more techniques in its fights and is more open about it because the world is being exposed to cursed spirits and cursed techniques, right? Now that this is starting to get become public, they can do these things and gain attention this way. They don't have to like hide it to freak people out. So it shows how the world is expanding and how it's reacting to what's happening. I did not see Kirara in the opening before doing that. It was like a world more similar to Gojo than maybe even they thought. That's interesting. And there's them, yeah. Okay, we'll see. Oh, Yuji with the bloody hands. I can't wait to explore this opening. I'll probably do it next stream, so a week from tomorrow. So look forward to that if you're interested. Oh my god, the OST of this season is so great. Yeah, we literally just want you guys to help us. Oh my god, their eyes are so interesting. Ooh, the overlay using the circles like the crater. Great. Probably because of conservative, yeah, which goes against Kirara, whatever their deal is. Also, are we gonna? That was really fun. The pan over as we look at Megumi, then the pan over to Hardcore Panda. So I got distracted. So they have set ideals. Kugisaki's technique. Oh, very simple. Okay. Oh, it's all like techie and strange. It's not what a technique should be. Is it because he like uses objects? I wish. Yeah, and we get the pen back over. Ball's in his court. Yeah, I didn't want to reveal that, but do what you gotta do. Panning back over. Very slow pan as the information is processed. She's gonna be like, wait a second. You want me to fight where Goju was sealed? No shot. First of all, there's no way that happened. And even if that happened, you want me to fight against someone who sealed him? No, there's so many levels of I'm not going a part of this. I don't blame Kirara one bit here. Oh god, and now we got the ReZero trauma. Oh, they're marked. The door. Oh. Can you mark all of them? Marks. Oh, they're already marked, just like he was marked. So she can't just change trajectory, she... Huh. They were drawn to him because they were his Shikigami. So... it's probably like polarity. So she marks two different things, and then she chooses whether they attract or repel, I assume. I don't know. Imai? I don't know these words. They're not Japanese, but... I assume it's like polarity, where it like pushes or repel or things enclose each other. It's not constellation. What? That's why there were the stars in the opening, huh? He's really familiar with them. Oh my god, this OST is so good. What? Oh, but I gave it away by looking surprised. That's why the poker face is important. Oh, that's the monitor room. But what does that actually mean if it's based on a constellation? Is like the implication of what the constellation means? Oh, and that was so cute, the animation. I mean, it's a cross, so I imagine it is. So I assume Door, Panda, Megumi, and Kirara, right? She's probably the 4th star. Or she's a center connecting them. I use that force to maintain a certain... Oh! Huh. Or is she the center of this, of the cross? Wait, no, but then she would pull them over, yeah. Huh.
じゃあこういうのはどうだ？ある星 A は他の星 B に近づけるが B からは A に近づけない。
It's only one way. That would be really interesting. Huh. So they can both approach each other, so it's probably not just one way, yeah. That could be interesting. Huh. I'm not a detective, by the way, so... I mean, there's nothing that says it has to be only the Southern Cross, right? Interesting. I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4 in the middle one. 5. Makes sense. Did she mark the car? Probably put cursed energy in it, yeah. Ooh, clean. Oh my god, even the light coming out of the headlights are... because it'll just come back to you, right? Yeah. Yeah, they have the same, so they'll attract. Whoa. Touch the dog. Meaning, cursed energy, because you all have the same. Means you need to find what else she's tagged, that she's imbued with cursed energy. Exactly. So what has she touched? Think back. I'm not going to, because I'm the worst detective in the world. Like you need to find who else imbued with cursed energy? Right, because it couldn't have been her, because she has the same cursed energy as herself, so there has to be a 5th person. God, this is so cool. Mimosa? Huh. Exactly, otherwise... Yeah. So there has to be a 5th person, but that doesn't mean the 5th person has to be here. They could be anywhere. Wow. This is so fun. Love Rendezvous. That is so cool. In a predetermined order. These markets. You can attract multiple things with one star, which makes it so much more unpredictable. You little rabbit. Mimosa Nakuri. Ooh, nice. Nearest to farthest star. Okay. Yeah, how far away the stars actually are. They're actually using how far the stars are from each other. That's so cool.
私の呪力についた星ギナを外して君と同じアクルックスの星をつければいいだけじゃん。
Ooh, interesting. It's very dynamic too. God, this OST. Ooh. Yep, because it now is in the right order. Mm-hmm. I mean, if nothing else, you can always just do process of elimination. Nice. Very good. Yeah, you have to, otherwise you're in trouble now. God, there's so many moments. Clean animation. Jeez. All right. Captured. The vocals too, with the explosion. Very cool. Very cool. That was such a cool fight. That was so fun. Oh my god, and they're still not done just showing off the animation. Ridiculous. Oh, interesting. Yeah, the dog was pulled into you. Ooh. Interesting. Amount of pierced energy because it's like gravity. Yeah, we're just like gravity, which makes sense given that they're stars. But yeah, we really did mean what we said. We want you to help. That's great. Just a full Dogaza. I mean, that means a lot, given you already pinned her down, but you let her go so you can bow. Like, how can they not hear you out after that? Ooh. It's a battle between men. Now we get our brawl. Oh, he's taking his coat off. All right, let's see it. Ooh. Cursed punch. Yeah, because I'm not here to fight. No killing. This is about making him recognize you. Yeah. Exactly. Oh, and this OST just building up in the background. It's just a song of determination as I beat the shit out of you. Mm-hmm. It's all about being recognized. God, the fire, the lighting of the fire, that like bright, thick outline of red. It's beautiful. Recognized by Yuta. Mm-hmm. Got a good word in. And he's someone who's reliable. That's not enough. You have to show that you're enough. Not on orders, on advice. Oh. Do they know that he's on? I'm just a tool. Yup. That's my role in this war. Oh, the look in his eyes. Yeah, right now he's the opposite of passion. But he's not gonna fall down, because that's my role right now. A Cogs pride, if you would. I was wondering if we'd get back to this side of Yuji, this trauma.
磁力は他のやつよりざらついてるらしいぞ。
Coarser and grittier. Is that why the conservatives didn't like you?
死んだか。
Something wrong about it?
おいパンダ
Doesn't look like the others.
あったというか
Christian head.
二度と
He's still there, yep. Still up. And still not gonna fight back.
その前に仕方が殴った何せいだよ
No guard, so he didn't even use
部品だ。
cursed energy to block it.
部品には役割があるんだろ。
Can't break until that function's fulfilled.
続ける俺の役割。それにはかり先輩が必要だっていうのなら。
Whatever it
首を
takes.
縦に振るまでつきまとう。
Ooh. Poor Yuji. I knew this was coming, but I really didn't want to see it.
先輩。あんたの役割は何だ。
Anta no yakuwari. What is your duty?
何ですかよ
They are
何発でも
literally cooking with this fire.
熱くなってるんじゃない？
Speak his language.
熱に嘘をつけね
Thank you, Kirara. Nice save.
取引だ
Ooh, toriki.
解決。納得してもらえたんですか。
Just gotta speak his language.
いいよ。
Oh, they're adorable.
なんやかんや。
Ooh.
高専で人助けしてたキーちゃんが一番熱かったから。
Did he? Is that like before he dyed his hair blonde?
リンゴンリンゴンリンゴンリンゴンリンゴンリンゴン。
What in the world is that?
プレイヤーによる死滅回避のルール追加が行われました。
A player has added a rule?
プレイヤーは他プレイヤーの情報、名前、得点、ルール追加回数、対流
Whoa, so they can see information now when they meet another person?
5ポイントが追加されました。
I guess not necessarily if you see them, you can probably pull it out. Like, I wonder if it's like a scoreboard you can pull out.
どいつもこいつも貧弱すぎる。
Who is this? So those are the access points to the system. Someone's looking for Sukuna.
得点が
That is terrifying.
消費して死滅回遊にルールを追加しますか。
Did he add the rule so he can track him down? That's not good. Strength.
ルール追加すると減っちまうか。じゃあルール追加回数もだな。
That's how why he did it.
どこのコロニーにいるか。
He knows what rules you added, so the number of rules, he can basically add the amount of
全プレイヤーの
points.
情報を開示させろ。
Whoa, Hajime Kashimo. And that's Fiend. Oh, this opening hits harder now that we're revisiting this part of Yuji. Oof. By the way, if you want to see a full breakdown of this song really and just what I think about it in its relation to the show, I'll leave a link here. I did a stream about it, but I recorded a separate video, didn't record, but I edited down a special video from that recording, from that live stream that basically just has my thoughts strictly about this, not all the other stuff of the VOD. So I'll link it up here and you can check it out if you're interested. See my full thoughts on Yaga no Uta, the full song, by the way, not just the TV size. I'm really proud of it. It's a really cool video. I really like my thoughts with it, so I hope you enjoy it too. Check it out if you haven't already. But it's such a brilliant ED. If you want to see my thoughts on the animation of it, I won't leave the link here, but check out my episode 1 reaction where we had where we first saw the ED. I just talked about it, all the different little symbolisms and the overall symbolism of these flashbacks of the window. It's just so brilliant, so definitely check that out if you haven't already. Ooh. Whoa. was that? All right, that was Jujutsu Kaisen Season 3, Episode 6. A phenomenal episode. A really interesting conclusion to this little mini arc of recruiting Hakari, and also seeing a whole lot of Kirara too, which was like the majority of the episode really, and just a super engaging and fascinating fight. Again, not just building out the world, but also the techniques of these people. And there were so many good shots. I'm going to be hard pressed to point out all of them, but I mean, something as simple as this is turning on the lighter and having it illuminate our Shadow Boy himself. It's so great, so great. And the way they play around with the where was it? It was when he sneaks into this guy's shadow. So we're obviously looking at his shadow, and then if you look back here, like the shadows, so they put so much attention into like making the shadow move with the light because we're like laser focused, right? It's this interesting contrast because he's not the main point of he's not like the focal point of the scene. He's way out in far over there, right? He's in like the background, which fits because this is like this sneaking mission. Like he's no important person. He's just there. So despite him being there so far away, we're laser focused on his shadow, right? Because we just saw Megumi sneak into his shadow. So they put extra attention into like the shadow morphing as he walks under the light. The shadow shifts around because our attention is on it. Our eyes are on it. It's just a really cool attention to detail. This thing's so cute. Wait, it was in the tournament, right? You should eat this fish sausage. I don't think they eat meat. Screw you. You don't know what I eat. And another really cool scene. Oh my god, I love that. That's so fun. And the little like manga panels of him getting angry. Freaking drop kicks him. Here we go. It's fish sausage. They eat bamboo. It's tasty. Bang! With the fun little corny zoom in. And he's delicious. Delicious. And then so he walks away, and we transition by turning away from the direction he went. So it's obviously not a literal continuation of the shot, but we use this to or I think it is. I think this is the other guy he beat up, right? Yeah. So he knocks this guy down while kicking the other one. The guy he knocked down is obviously on the floor. The tire is bouncing. And we pan over to where the guy he drop kicked is like leaning against the wall. And we do a full like 180 pan away in the opposite direction. So Parkour Panda walks this way. We pan the opposite direction and we meet him in the opposite place. That's so fun, where he's walking up the stairs. That's super fun. It's super fun. God, this whole season is just such a treat. Little like tippy toe walking. So they're securing the area and they just happen straight by Kirara, who's right there. I guess we're getting started. Why isn't he with Kirara? I mean, kind of is. The zoom and enhance. And the way they zoom into the screens and zoom out to show where they are, hang out in the spot, I guess, his room. It's so fun. Fun little angles, and then we see what the call was about, the warning sign, and then they start fighting. And this just whole beautiful fight. It almost looks like they're running in the like through a street, but without any of the actual like environment here, but the lights creating these little spotlights that they're running through. It's just super fun. And it also kind of shows like it's perfectly spaced where it's the distance they can't like close, right? It's just super fun. Super fun. Him running, these little angles that are like shifting in these little cuts. We go over to here and then we get into the opening. Super cool. And there it is. I also wanted to see, I believe it's one of these, right? Where we saw Kirara, or I think it was a little bit after this. We saw Kirara there, but now, doing his his frame by frames. And Kirara is right around Here we go. With the stars, yeah, the constellations. Oh, it's so beautiful. What a beautiful shot. Very cool. Those two, yeah. Hopefully we get to see a lot more of them. But episode Cog, because Yuji, yeah. Very clever. And it's going to be this whole analysis. It's just going to be shot. It's just going to be pointing out really cool shots. We start with Megumi. Pan over as he basically puts the ball in Kirara's court. We're not actually with Jujutsu High. Leaves Kirara to process. Zoom in. You know what Tokyo's like, right? Bears are related too. And we get this overlay over the crater, basically. It's an attack of terrorism. You reap what you sow. Because they still believe that our guys are on Jujutsu High's side, right? Sorry, I'm stuttering a little bit as I'm trying to get the pronoun thing right. I think I'm going to use them for now because that's what the subtitles used. I've heard that Kirara is a trans woman, but I've heard also Gege refers to it as he. I'm not sure, so I'm just going to use they because you can't be wrong with they, technically, sort of. So you reap what you sow, and then the ball goes back over into Megumi's court. And before he can really respond, Panda starts talking about the conservatism of Jujutsu High, which fits very well. It's the perfect word because given what we've seen about Kirara and clearly their gender queerness, is that a word? Is that how you say it? Their nonconformity. It automatically, like, given the current day and age, and even when this was written back in like 2018, I think, or 2019, at this part of the story, obviously the current liberal movements and the conservative response to that is front and center for a lot of people's minds, right? Of course, it also refers just to conservatism in general, of something that very fits the Jujutsu elders, where they don't like change. They don't like things that are super different. And as we'll talk about in this episode, that includes like techniques that are unusual, that are not like the nice cut and dry, this is my power, I can do this, like Nobata's. But this use of the word conservative obviously brings out these political implications. And with Kirara, it's perfect because most of our brains will immediately make the connection of why conservative people would not welcome somebody like Kirara. And yet that's implicit, right? They don't explicitly talk about that. Gege cleverly doesn't put that in the highlight, leaves it implicit by focusing on techniques and what is different from what is traditionally accepted. But of course, the panning shot that we're panning back and forth is like the proverbial ball is being tossed in each other's courts. It goes back over to Panda as he brings up this point. It's a very classic Jujutsu. It's a very cool power. I can imbue things with my energy, and I can hit them, and I can have like little dolls. I forgot what they're called, but like where I hit it and it affects other people. It's a very cool, like, shonen power. It's not like something like cursed videos that are popular, or things with technology, things with, I assume, Hakari using these doors and things that don't quite fit, that are strange. Yeah, things that don't fit into my perception of what techniques should be. My, of course, being the Jujutsu elders, right? They lost because they're like that, not accepting. But you all have Gojo, right? So obviously you're relying on us, because what can we provide that Gojo can't? And the ball gets sent back into Megumi's court. You must have ulterior motives. And then you can see the sweat rolling down. I didn't want to say this, but Gojo is sealed. We don't have him. And then the super slow, this is in 4x speed, so you can even see, even here it's kind of slow, the slow pan over to reveal Kirara's perfect what face. Because like I said in the reaction, there are two ways you can take this. Either, or both, there's no way Gojo was sealed. That's not possible. And if he was sealed, what do you expect me to do? What am I supposed to do that Gojo couldn't do? Are you kidding me? This face is perfect. There's so much wrong with what you just said, Megumi. Of course we're going to slow pan over to me, because what am I even going to respond with? But we have to keep trying anyways, right? So the fight starts back up, and we've got to subdue them, basically. But through this really interesting, really cool fight, we start exploring this. We see the different words on them. Kirara's poker face exposes the cross, which exposes the fact that there are not 4 stars, but 5. And we have to find the 5th source of cursed energy effectively. And we learn that there's, oh my god, there's so many cool shots. I can't point all of them out because there's just too many. And following the freaking light as it falls down, we realize we're not supposed to find another person, but we're supposed to find other objects that are imbued by the cursed energy of someone else. Presumably Hakari, but could be anybody. But the reason why we have this 5th one is for Kirara's sake, right? Because if you have this 5th element that mixes things up, first of all, if there are more than 4 and it is a predetermined order, which it is, then in order to counteract it, you have to find this order. With 4, it's already difficult, but it's manageable. If you include a 5th, that changes completely, especially since you know this information. It increases the amount of information that the other person doesn't know exponentially, as increasing new elements does. So it's just really clever and a great build out of this technique we're just introduced to this episode. Oh, and it's the fact that it's not just arbitrary, but it's the difference of each, the difference of the space between each star, because obviously they're different, they're far away, they're not in like a 2D plane. Jeez, as we see them as constellations. Super clever, something you can figure out that's like all sensible but just crazy. Just the whole fight just plays out in such a cool way. Absolutely deserving of more than half the episode spotlight. Absolutely. It was a gamble, but life is a gamble, right? And then we don't cut to the next fight. The next fight joins us, where we've got Yuji and Hakari just not even having a brawl. Yuji isn't here to fight Hakari. This isn't like Shibuya. This is not a fight to the death. This isn't even a fight to defeat. This is simply showing him that I mean business. And God, the fact that they have these accents of the pure red, that's so unrealistic. It's so artistic, right? Because obviously lighting would be changing with the burning flame, but it's so artistic and it's so unusual. The punch not being like a fully animated punch, but a boom, and then he's flying. Great. Super great. If you ask me for help, it's putting my life on the line. You have to earn that. What was Yaga thinking? He should be weeding out losers like you. Which is a tough line, especially to Yuji, who Yaga tried to weed out, right? Initially, Yaga rejected Yuji. This is a really important line. And for a reason that I didn't really think about until now, really. The fact that he actually brings up Yaga, I was thinking during the episode, my initial thought and something I'm still wondering about is if they know. Do they know that Yaga's gone? I assume they do. I assume Megami found out, or through some sort of through their reconnaissance, however they found out. I don't know the exact timeline. Obviously, Yaga died after the whole Shibuya incident, but I don't know if that happened recent enough that they don't know. But from Yuji's response, I assume they know. If they don't, though, it works just as well, because what this really does, and what makes this such a great line, is the fact that it makes the characters, and us as well, reminisce about that first scene. The first scene with Yaga, back in, I believe it was the main event of episode 2 of season 1. The scene where Yaga fights Yuji with his puppets, and Yuji has to prove himself. Not physically, but similar to this, he has to prove his conviction. He has to prove that he is willing to, that he has conviction that will allow him to not only survive, but thrive in this horrible dog-eat-dog world of curses, of Jujutsu. It was in that scene that we introduced one of the core themes of the story, right? What is conviction? And how does one find their conviction? What convictions are enough? Obviously, this theme has been explored through Yuji, right, throughout the seasons. And every major stopping point, whether it's like a mid-core, like halfway through the season, or at the end of a season, especially in season 1, has been punctuated with Yuji finding new conviction or discovering more about his conviction. Whether it was about killing humans, whether it's about what he's willing to do, whether it's his purpose as a cog, as he in the episode defines him. It's about conviction. It's about his developing and budding conviction. And the reason why this is such a great line, why it's so great that it reminds us of Yaga and that initial interaction and that introduction of the theme, is because it's, first of all, been a minute since we've really reflected back on that conviction. It was subtly done in season 2, like I said, with him finding his conviction that this is my role in this war. But that was a bit of a departure. Before then, it was much more clear. The direction that the conviction exploration was taking in the show was Yuji finding the conviction to kill humans or human-like creatures in order to accomplish his mission. Now, we saw in Shibuya that was easier said than done, and that it's not, growth is not a straight line. Growth itself is something you can argue, whether it's objective or not. But in season 2, he found a much colder, hollower determination of, my role is to basically kill cursed spirits specifically, and things that threaten the peace. So I really like this because it reminds us what the root of that conviction was. That talk with Yaga. That moment when Yaga saw not conviction in Yuji, but promise of conviction. And promise is the single most important thing a teacher looks out for in a student, right? I don't care what your abilities are. I don't care what you are capable of doing. I don't care what you came into the room knowing how to do. I care about your ability to learn, your openness to learn. I care about what potential you have. And it was the potential of conviction that Yaga saw in Yuji that made him accept Yuji into Jujutsu High, right? We think about this moment, and I think Yuji does too a little bit. He pauses, and he remembers his own conviction. The cold conviction he's found in Shibuya. I don't have any passion. I'm not like you. I am simply a cog in the machine that sorcerers need to keep exercising curses. That's disappointing. All I care about is passion. But even though his conviction is completely different from Hakari's, it's conviction nonetheless, right? It's not a blazing conviction, but it's a cold, icy, unbreakable conviction. A conviction to keep exercising curses. And towards that end, I will play along with whatever, because that is my role. Yakuwari, what is your role? Oh, such a cool shot. The fire's burning in his eye. Literally the fire burning, right? It's pretty ham-fisted, but it works. It works well. And it works super well because the contrast. His conviction is the furthest thing from passionate. It's the furthest thing from hot. It's as cold can be. He's in the dark night of the soul before the character redefines themselves to get to the climax. And yet, even this cold determination has its own passion. Even though he's not spirited, he is iron-willed. There is its own kind of fire, almost like a cold flame, burning inside of him. The passion of a cog to perform its role. Now, I'm going to do something I rarely do in this channel, and I'm going to try to predict something. Not of the show, but of the comments. I'm going to predict that Alex, our resident cultural technician, our cultural scientist, is going to talk about cogs in Japanese culture. Most people are probably aware, especially if you watch anime to a degree, that Japan is a very pluralistic society. They're a very collective society. They're pretty much almost the opposite of America in that sense, right? There are individualism. They love collectivism. They work as a group. They work for the good of those around them. And on the surface, especially to individualistic Americans, that can seem removed, that can seem cold, that can seem dispassionate. But it's not necessarily, is it? There is a fire within the ice. There is a desire to be this cog, which is a horrible way of putting it, but when you consider Japan has a word for people dying from being overworked, cog is unfortunately a relatively accurate descriptor. It's far too simplistic, right, to actually like use genuinely, but to a degree, for the sake of this argument, it works. And I think it points to how a lot of people see, like, especially Japanese salarymen, but also I think to a degree how they see themselves. I think there is this feeling when you work in this collectivist society that you are a cog, that you are performing your role. And I think as individualists, we tend to look down on that and pity that. But in doing so, we overlook the passion of a cog. We overlook the genuine desire to be useful, to make an impact, to perform your role as best as you possibly can. We overlook the genuine, fiery determination to be a cog, which sounds like a contradiction, especially to individualists, to like Americans especially. But there is something to it, right? And I think if you think on the family level, it makes more sense. When you're living with a family, you want to perform your role, right? If you're in a friend group, you probably have a certain role in the group and you want to perform that to the best of your ability. When you're at work, even individualists work, right? Most of us do. When you're at work, you want to perform your assigned role to the best of your ability. If you're working part-time, maybe not so, maybe you don't care that much, but if it's your full-time work, hopefully you are wanting to do it to the best of your ability. And you're not trying to stand out to your peer. You're not trying to like stand out and do like all your peers' jobs, right? You may want to stand out to get like a promotion, but you are trying to perform your assigned role excellently, perfectly, as close to perfect as you can. The passion of a cog. It's just that in Japan and in more collectivist societies, that expands to society, not just work. Work becomes yet a larger cog, right? It's passion all the same. It's a cold flame, right? And it burns just as bright. But of course, Kin isn't quite getting it. Hakari isn't quite getting through to him, even though he's starting to see it. Until Kirara phrases it in a way that he can understand. Puts it in his terms. He's gotten you quite riled up, hasn't he? Well, can't argue with that. Fine, we're doing it. And then we get teased with this, which I assume these are like the, I forget the word, but basically the receptacles, the way that you can communicate with the machine, right? Because the calling game is its own game master. It's a set of like rules and techniques and vows so intricately tied and so effective that it basically runs itself. It is the OS of the game. And these are basically the methods through which they can communicate to each other, and new rules are added. And it seems oddly specific at first, but then we see why. One of the members, presumably somebody who was alive in Sukuna's time, somebody that Brain freed, from 400 years ago, clearly, who's basically possessed somebody effectively, I assume, is looking for Sukuna. So in order to find Sukuna, he decides to make visible players' abilities, basically, through their points. Per person with the most points is the strongest. Oh, what takes away their points? Adding new rules. So I want to see their points, and I want to see their rules. Because however many rules they've added, just add 100 more points. Whoever has the most points, probably my target. Very clever, very cool. And a cool way to have this really strangely specific and seemingly arbitrary rule added that gets him to where he wants to be. Very cool, very fun. And clearly very scary, because this person is going to be hunting us down. I would wager a bet that, unlike Naoya, this one we're really going to have to worry about. Not that Naoya was something we didn't have to worry about. He was incredibly strong, but we got him out of the way, thankfully, thanks to the Maki massacre. Regardless, that's where I'm going to end it off here. Thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do leave a like. It really means a lot to me. A little like goes a long way. Just giving me a little boost in the algorithm. And if you want to help yourself out, go ahead and subscribe to get notified whenever new ones come out. I'm trying to shoot for releasing these 2 times a week before I ramp it back up to 3 times, because I want to go back to my daily uploads. So I'll try to have JJK out starting next week at least 2 times a week, if not more. So if you're excited, do subscribe to get notified whenever that drops. And if you really want to help me out and show me that you appreciate it, join my Patreon. Like I said, it gives you unaltered reactions, and it also gives you access to polls I put on. The JJK poll just closed. I'll be announcing the results in a bit. But when Free Run ends, I'll put up another poll, and that'll be probably like a month out from now. So yeah, you get bonus points for Patreon. If you join Patreon, details that on Patreon. So I hope to see you over there. Or I hope to see you in the comments where you can leave a thought about the episode, what I said, so many things. So I hope to see you there. But regardless, thank you so much for watching. That's the most important part. Thank you for being a part of this community. Thank you for interacting, or even just just watching it and enjoying it with me. It really does mean the world to me. I'm excited for the next one. So until then, have a lovely rest of your day.